4 million cars. That's not just a statistic. That's a tidal wave crashing into the used car market, and it's happening right now. Dealers can't stop it, banks can't cover it, and buyers, like you, are about to feel it in your wallet whether you're shopping or not. Picture this, a row of cars stretching from New York to Los Angeles, bumper to bumper, and every single one of them is a repossession, a lease return, or a rental fleet offload. That's what 4 million cars looks like. But here's the part no one is telling you. This isn't just about too many cars sitting on lots. It's about a market breaking under its own weight, about families crushed under debt, and about insiders panicking because they know the system they built is collapsing in real time. And here's the twist. While everyone else is watching interest rates and sticker prices, the real story is happening in auction lanes, repo yards, and empty showrooms where cars sit for months without buyers. Stay tuned, because by the end of this story, you'll see why 2025 may go down as the year the American car market finally snapped. The headlines love to talk about rising inventory, but what they never put in bold is the number that really matters. More than 4 million vehicles are being dumped back into circulation in just 12 months. Think about that. Nearly 1.7 million of those cars are repossessions, the highest we've seen since the 2008 financial crash. Another 1 million are lease returns, flooding back after the artificially cheap pandemic leases finally expired. Then you've got the rental fleets, companies like Hertz and Enterprise offloading hundreds of thousands of cars because they can't afford to sit on depreciating assets while travel slows. And on top of it all are the dealer overstocks, the vehicles that sat unsold for months and are now being fire sold at auction just to get them off the books. That's not one wave. That's 4 waves colliding into a single storm, and it's slamming into the market all at once. Here's the kicker. Demand simply isn't there. Consumers are maxed out, wages haven't kept up, and the very people who would normally swoop in to scoop up these so-called deals are already drowning in car payments of their own. But numbers alone don't capture what's really happening. The real warning isn't written in spreadsheets or headlines. It's written in the lives of the people living this every single day. And once you hear their stories, you'll realize why this crash is unlike anything we've seen before. Sarah was 32, a single mom working 2 jobs in Dallas. In 2022, she financed a used Honda Civic for $24,000 at a staggering 11% interest. It wasn't her dream car, but it was reliable enough to get her kids to school and her to work. Fast forward to this summer, Sarah was juggling rent hikes, grocery bills, and daycare. The Civic payment, once manageable, suddenly became the difference between paying for food or keeping her car. After 2 missed payments, she woke up one morning to find the car gone. A repo truck had taken it in the middle of the night. Now here's where it gets cruel. At auction, her Civic fetched $14,000, but she still owed $20,000. That left her $6,000 in debt with no car to drive. The system didn't just take her vehicle, it shackled her with debt she can't escape. And Sarah isn't rare. Repo agents report that every 18 seconds in America, another car disappears from a driveway, a workplace, or a parking lot. Families like hers are losing not just transportation, but the ability to work, to provide, to survive. But if you think that's grim, wait until you see what's happening to the very dealers who are supposed to profit from this wave. Mike owns a mid-sized used car lot outside Atlanta. For 20 years, he's built a business, flipping repos and lease returns. Normally, the wave of cheap cars would be a goldmine, not this year. Mike walks me through rows of repossessed cars, a late model Ford F-150, a Nissan Altima, even a Tesla Model 3. Cars that would have sold in days 2 years ago are now sitting for 90, 120, even 180 days. Buyers aren't biting, Mike says. Even at discounts of $5,000 or $10,000, they just can't get financing. Banks are tightening up, lenders want higher credit scores, and people just don't qualify anymore. Here's the cliffhanger. What happens when dealers like Mike can't move inventory? They slash prices, yes, but when even fire sales don't work, many small lots are simply walking away. Auction yards are filling with cars no one wants to touch, and that glut drives values down across the board. If you thought your car was holding value, think again. Prices are dropping faster than the Blue Book can keep up. To understand this collapse, you have to step inside an auction house. Imagine hundreds of cars rolling past as auctioneers shout numbers. In normal times, dealers would fight over clean repos, each hoping to flip them for a quick profit. But today, silence. Dealers sit on their hands. Bids come in low, half-hearted. Cars that once fetched $20,000 now limp out at $12,000. Banks eat the losses. An insider at Mannheim Auctions revealed that repo vehicles now account for 60% of volume in some lanes. That's not just unusual, that's historic. And because the cars are coming in rougher, scratched interiors, blown transmissions, neglected oil changes, the reconditioning costs are killing profits. Here's the suspense. What happens when even the sharks won't swim? It means the market has reached a point of saturation so extreme that supply itself has become toxic. And the poison doesn't stay at the auction, it spreads. Families who thought they had equity in their vehicles are waking up to find the opposite. Trade-ins that once covered a down payment are now leaving owners underwater. Take James, a 45-year-old contractor in Ohio. Last year, his Chevy Silverado was valued at $28,000. Today, dealers offer him $18,000. Trouble is, he still owes $24,000 on the loan. That's $6,000 upside down. And no one wants to roll that debt forward anymore. So James is stuck, driving a truck that's losing value while payments keep piling up. He can't trade out. He can't refinance. He's trapped. Multiply James's story by millions and you see the true fallout. Americans chained to depreciating cars they can't escape, while the market buckles under the weight of oversupply. But if you think the pain ends there, think again. Because now we shift to the people who finance this entire mess. Behind closed doors, lenders are sweating bullets. Auto loan charge-offs, the losses when banks give up on collecting, hit nearly $30 billion last year. Forecasts suggest that number could soar to $40 billion in 2025. Credit unions, once considered safe havens, are warning that 15% of their auto loan portfolios could go bad. One former auto finance executive put it bluntly, "We're staring at an existential crisis." Here's where it gets chilling. When banks panic, they pull back. That means even buyers with good credit suddenly face higher interest rates, stricter requirements, and denials for loans they would have gotten a year ago. The squeeze gets tighter and the cycle feeds itself. It's a spiral, and spirals don't end gently. Maria, a 54-year-old nurse in Florida, bought a Nissan Altima in 2021. Payments were steep, but she managed until inflation spiked her rent and food bills. By June 2025, she was juggling late notices on both her car and utilities. One night, after finishing a 12-hour shift, she drove home knowing it was the last tank of gas she could afford before the repo truck came. "I sat in the car for an hour," she said. "Cried, because I knew when I woke up, it might be gone." 2 days later, it was. For Maria, losing her car meant losing her second job, the one that kept her afloat. Now she's back to borrowing rides, struggling to rebuild her credit, and trying to make sense of a system that promised affordable mobility but delivered shackles instead. Her story is heartbreaking, but it's also a warning. The repo wave isn't numbers, it's people. Automakers see the writing on the wall. Gone are the days of easy loans and endless demand. Now, they face the reality that cars priced at $50,000 and up simply don't have enough buyers. Ford has already written off billions in bad loans. GM is slashing production targets. Stellantis is eliminating long loan terms, demanding bigger down payments, and bracing for smaller markets. The insiders call it the Great Reset. Fewer cars built, fewer loans approved, fewer buyers qualified. But here's the cliffhanger you feel in your gut. When choice comes back to the showroom, confidence comes back to the street. This crash isn't just about prices, it's about trust. And right now, trust is gone. So where does this leave you, the everyday buyer? First, hold on to what you have. Even if it's old, even if it's imperfect, maintaining your current car will almost always cost less than diving into today's loan traps. Second, if you must buy, be patient. The desperation peak hasn't arrived yet, but it will. When it does, the bargains will be real, and the leverage will shift back to buyers. Third, don't believe the hype. Ads will scream final days, but the truth is, this reset will drag on for months, maybe years. And finally, be smart with financing. Avoid long loans, oversized payments, and inflated add-ons. The system is counting on you to be desperate. Don't give them that power, because in this crash, the winners will be the ones who wait, who plan, who refuse to play the dealer's game. 4 million cars, 4 million stories, each one telling a different side of the same collapse. For some, it's a family losing the only vehicle that got them to work, to school, to survival. For others, it's small-town dealers closing their gates for the last time as rows of repos rot on the lot. And for the banks, it's billions vanishing into the hole they dug with their own reckless lending. But here's the truth you can't escape. This isn't just the end of a cycle. It's the end of an illusion. The illusion that Americans could borrow forever, that debt was infinite, that shiny new cars on credit were a birthright. That fantasy has shattered. The reset isn't coming. The reset is already here. So the next time you drive past a dealership plastered with sale banners whipping in the wind, don't just see discounts, see desperation. Because those cars don't just represent price tags, they represent a market gasping for air. And in a market like this, survival doesn't belong to the biggest lender, the flashiest ad, or the dealer with the loudest voice. Survival belongs to the ones who know the truth. And now, you do. If this breakdown opened your eyes, don't just scroll away. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter of this unraveling market. Drop your own story in the comments. Tell me if you've been hit by the repo wave or if you've seen prices on your street collapse. And share this video with someone who's thinking about buying right now. Because the more truth we put out there, the harder it becomes for the industry to hide behind their banners, their ads, and their slogans. Together, we can make sure people stop falling into the same trap. And remember, this story isn't ending. It's only just beginning.